We know that many people have questions about the new COVID vaccines, and we think those questions are important and should be taken seriously. We're not your doctor and we can't give you medical advice, so if you have specific questions related to your own health, talk to your healthcare provider. But here are some answers to your vaccine questions from a public health perspective. I don't trust pharma companies. Isn't this just another way to make money for them?
Vaccines aren't good sources of revenue for drug companies because they're really costly to develop and they don't have to be taken every day. Companies take a financial risk to develop them, and sometimes that risk pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. Ultimately, the reason we have a strict FDA vaccine review and approval process is to make sure that the quality of vaccines isn't compromised for the sake of profit, and the available vaccines have gone through that process.
These vaccines came out super fast. Did they cut corners?
The vaccines were developed quickly because scientists all over the world who work on similar viruses put aside everything else and worked nonstop to create and test these vaccines. The vaccines have gone through all the same testing that any drug does. The FDA granted an emergency approval to fast-track production, but only after carefully reviewing the safety and efficacy data.
Are the people who are getting vaccinated now just the guinea pigs? Should I wait to see if they're really safe?
People receiving the approved vaccines now are receiving drugs that have already been extensively tested. The FDA does monitor vaccines after they're in widespread use as well, but that doesn't mean they're not safe to receive now. Long-term monitoring will help us learn more about the vaccines, especially for rare 1 in a million outcomes that might go unseen in clinical trials. But overall, we know these vaccines are safe and that they work because of the trial data that's already out there.
What about long-term risks from the vaccine?
Adverse reactions developing months or years later are basically unheard of for vaccines. They break down really quickly in your body. You have ongoing immunity because of your own immune system, not because the vaccine is still inside you. If you're going to have a severe allergic reaction, which is extremely rare, it'll happen right away. It's worth considering that vaccines are a one-and-done event. Once you've had both doses of the vaccine, that's it. You are more highly exposed to common drugs like aspirin that you would take frequently than you are to a vaccine.
Who shouldn't get the vaccine?
Currently, there isn't an approved vaccine for children. Pfizer is approved for people 16 and older, and Moderna is approved for people 18 and older. If you know you're allergic to polyethylene glycol, also known as PEG, or polysorbate, you should not receive an mRNA vaccine. If you've had severe allergic reactions to other vaccine ingredients before, you should talk to your doctor about whether it's safe for you to get the COVID vaccine. If you've had severe allergic reactions to other medications, foods, or substances, the CDC is still recommending that you get vaccinated, but they do suggest that you be monitored for 30 minutes after vaccination to make sure that you don't have an allergic reaction. Let the healthcare worker vaccinating you know if this is the case for you.
Can I get vaccinated if I'm pregnant or breastfeeding?
Pregnant and breastfeeding people weren't specifically studied during the drug trials, but based on what we know, we have no reason to think getting vaccinated isn't safe for these groups. And if instead you caught COVID while pregnant, pregnancy may put you at higher risk for complications from infection. Getting vaccinated while pregnant, on the other hand, may help protect your baby from COVID after they're born.
Can I get vaccinated if I'm immunocompromised?
Yes, you can still get vaccinated even if your immune system is compromised. None of the approved vaccines contain live virus, so they can't make you sick, even if you have a weakened immune system. There's a possibility that the vaccine might trigger a weaker immune response in people who are immunocompromised, though we don't have great data on that yet. But it's still worthwhile for immunocompromised people to get vaccinated, especially since they're highly susceptible to severe complications from COVID infections. The vaccines were developed to avoid triggering autoimmune conditions, and so far the vaccines have not been shown to trigger flare-ups in autoimmune disorders. Many viral infections can cause those flare-ups, though, which is all the more reason to get vaccinated. We encourage you to talk to your doctor if you're concerned.
Do I need to get vaccinated if I already had COVID? Can I get vaccinated?
You can and should get vaccinated if you've already had COVID. Natural immunity from COVID only lasts a few months, so even if you've already had it, you should get vaccinated so you don't get infected again. The CDC does recommend that if you had COVID and you were treated with monoclonal antibodies or convalescent plasma, you should wait 90 days before getting vaccinated. That's because these treatments might affect how your immune system reacts to a vaccine.
Should I avoid alcohol before or after getting vaccinated?
It's always good for your health and safety to avoid excessive alcohol use, but there's no need to abstain from alcohol before or after getting vaccinated.
I heard the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is less effective than the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines.
On February 4th, 2021, Johnson & Johnson applied to the FDA for an emergency use authorization for its vaccine. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is 85% effective at preventing severe disease. You might be wondering if this means it's less effective than Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines. It's important to know that the studies aren't all designed exactly the same way, so these numbers aren't quite apples to apples. But the bottom line is that all three vaccines have excellent efficacy. Another advantage of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is that it's administered in a single dose, so people who receive it would be protected faster. If the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is approved, and if you're in a population it's approved for, don't hesitate to get it.
Are the vaccines effective against the new variants of SARS-CoV-2?
New virus variants can make vaccines less effective if your body can't recognize the new virus based on the description a vaccine has given it. We don't yet know exactly how effective the approved vaccines are against newer strains, but based on what we do know, it seems like they still provide good protection, especially against the worst outcomes like hospitalization and death. New strains make widespread vaccination that much more important because viruses mutate when they replicate, and they can only replicate while they're infecting someone's body. The more people who are immune, the less virus is out there mutating, the less opportunity there is for new strains to emerge.
We hope these answers have been helpful. Join us next week for part 2, where we'll tackle even more questions about the COVID vaccines. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.